walk with me.
In Judah is God known. His name is great in Israel, and in Salem also is his tabernacle, and his dwelling place in Zion. There break he the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword, and the battle, Selah. Thou art more glorious and excellent than in mountains of prey. The short-hearted are spoiled, and they have slept their sleep. And none of the men of might have found their hands. At thy rebuke, O God of Jacob, both the chariot and horse are cast into a dead sleep. And thou, even thou, art to be feared. And who may stand in thy sight when once they are angry? Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still. When God arose to judgment to save all the meek of the earth, Selah. Surely the wrath of man shall praise thee, and the remainder of wrath shall thou restrain. Vow and pay unto the I am your God, and let all that be round about him be present unto him that ought to be feared. He shall cut off the spirit of princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. Yes, all praises, all praises. That's out of Psalms chapter 76. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me in my seat forever, that we go not astray, and from henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, we thank the Most High for all that he's done. We thank God for this beautiful day. Whether it's evening, whether it's afternoon or morning, and where you are, your locality, we thank God for you. We thank God for his mercy, because mercy is best suited for all of us. And the fact is that we have to even bear fruit that would cause God to have mercy upon us. Yes, the world is in, you got fear-mongering going on today. You got all kind of things happening. Something that's as routine as even the Russians over there in Cuba. It's just a routine thing. But the fact is that you can't trust anything these days, because you wonder. You know, I also remember the book None Dare Call It Conspiracy about the Lithuania, how the government at that time wanted to get into the battle, and they were also told not to put any weapons on that ship, but they went ahead and did it anyway. According to the narrative of the book, they did it, and so it caused the Lithuania to be sank, and therefore thus this government got into the fight. Never won. The Russians really run that war, because that's another book for you. But these books have a lot of, should I say, clout to them, a lot of truth to them, because they have a lot of receipts in these books. They just don't write these books for nothing. Many of these books, they don't write for nothing. They have a lot of references and things and news clips and things that would really cause you to think. But the fact is, not our fight. Our fight is with darkness, evil in high places. First it has to be fought in heaven, then on earth. And that, if it's fought in heaven, a lot of times it can be deterred on earth because of the minds of men who, what did he say? Abraham understood this thing thousands of years ago, that spirits have sway over the hearts and thoughts of men. Yes, they do. Now we're in the book of Jasher, but first we want to thank God with a hand clap of praise for his mercy and his favor toward us because of our confidence in him. We thank God because you have subscribed and you have been with us since the beginning, and you have even followed, and we thank God for you. And those of you that have done that here and there's about, we thank God for you. And those of you that have just subscribed or followed, we give God the praise and glory for you. And we thank God for those of you that are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, all praises, all praises. We're in the Jasher, the book of Jasher, chapter 57. We ended in verse 42. Now, what had happened was King Angeas, he was the king in Dinhaba. That's on the continent of Africa. I guess that's what it's supposed to be. Dinhaba on the continent of Africa. Now, they had what they would call, I don't know why this translator, arranged it this way, because the translators have a lot of power over how the scriptures are perceived. But you have to look at what is going on in the narrative before you can even, you can tell whether they made a mistake or not. If those of you that know English, a lot of times if you look at the setting, the audience, and then you look at the thought of the person talking, you can tell whether that something has been just infused into it, or it just don't make sense. Now, Dinhaba was a land supposedly in Africa. He was king of Dinhaba, and his name was Bela, the son of Beor, who was a very valiant man, beauty, comely, and wise, and all wisdom, a man of sense and counsel, and there was none of the people of Angeas like unto him. Now, the children of Esau, they wanted to make him king. Oh, we got a nice, strong king. And so they gave him the they gave him the office. And they say, may the king live forever, in verse 42. And verse 43, as we continue, and they spread out the sheet. Not a sheet as we know it. This is translators now talking, and we're trying to decipher what they're talking about, trying to get the feel of what the intention of this scripture. And they bought him, each man, earrings of gold and silver, rings or bracelets, and they made him very rich in silver and in gold and onyx stones. You have to realize, not only was the continent of Africa, but also all over there, all in that region, the whole earth was really full of gold, but these were more saturated with gold and precious stones. Bdellium seems like it was the best. It was very abundant in these areas of Africa and northern Africa and over there in the land of Shem. I'm not going to call it, all these other names that people call them. You have Dubai over there. You have, that's not their land. That's not their land. No, not by in the long shot. But those lands were colonized long ago, and now their children think that they are the indigenous of that land, when it's totally not true. Only reason you there is because of the Most High. The Most High allowed it to be. Even those of you in North Africa, because the Most High allowed it to be. The indigenous of that land have been scattered. They've been spread all over the earth. Part of the indigenous of the land, the indigenous of the land is also noted in the United States through the artifacts, African artifacts. So they didn't come over no ships. They were already there. They were already traveling to and fro by land, because the land was one land. And God's showing these signs, because now you see that even in Africa now, the land is starting to split. And it said it might even run into India. It'll be a part of India eventually. And you have other parts of the world that are splitting. That you have another continental divide. So it's just poof. Your synopsis or your hypothesis is blown out the water. United States was part of Egypt. Yes, it was. It was part of Egypt, especially in that region. It was part of Egypt. Somehow, some kind of way, the Egyptians or Egyptian-like people were there, or those who had the same mindset of Egyptians. There wasn't no Mongolians, wasn't no Indians or any other people. They were just plain old kinky-haired black folk, or should I say coarse-haired black folks, or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't straight, it was coarse. Not that it was as bad as words, but coarse hair is very versatile. You can make it out of anything, and it won't fall apart on you as straight hair will. So let's call a buck a buck. Now, and they spread out the sheet, and they brought him each man earrings of gold, silver rings or bracelets. And they made him very rich in silver and in gold and in onyx stones and medallion. And they made a royal throne, and they placed a regal crown upon his head. And they built a palace for him, and he dwelt therein. And he became king over all the children of Esau. And the people of Angus took their hire for their battle from the children of Esau. In other words, we won the war for you. You're gonna give us we're going back to our continent, and we're going back to the other side of the Red Sea, and we're gonna party with this stuff, or whatever they're gonna do with it. Feed the children. And they went and returned at that time to their master in Dinhabah. And Bela reigned over the children of Esau 30 years. Now he was a citizen of Dinhabah also. And the children of Esau dwelt in the land in the stead of the children of Seir. In other words, they were children of Seir, but I believe they were Canaanites. And they dwelt securely in their land unto this day. And it came to pass in the 32nd year of Israel going down into Egypt that, I'm in chapter 58 and verse 1. Chapter 58 and verse 1. Now, it's in the 71st year of the life of Joseph. And in that year died Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and Margaran, his son, reigned in his stead. Yes, and Pharaoh commanded Joseph before his death to be a father to his son Margaran, that Margaran should be under the care of Joseph and under his counsel. Now, those of you who get into Egyptology and all this stuff, and you're trying to figure out when was the children of Israel there, now you got to find out who was Margaran. Who was Margaran? What king, what dynasty was this Margaran? And this will answer a lot of your questions, or a lot of your accusations or your claims. It would either validate them or it will debunk them. Now, Margaran should be under the care of Joseph and under his counsel. And all of Egypt consented to this thing. Now, Joseph, he was well versed in the things of Egypt. He knew the things of the pharaohs. He knew the things of the priests. And he was well versed. And plus, he was a very fit man. Even in his 70s, this man was fit. Most of the children of Israel were at that time. But now I'll tell you one thing about diet. When you follow the way of the Most High, he tells you about diet. It's not about being vegan or nothing like this. It's about eating what God told you you could eat and what you could not eat. Many of you love your scrimps or shrimp. Many of you love your crustaceans on the bottom of the sea. You love your catfish. You love your hog and your different fish and things that you eat. And some get by. But God gives a specific diet for the children of Israel. And these things will enhance your life because you're being obedient, number one, so they're going to be health to your bones. And you always pray and say, God, you told me this is what I should eat, and I'm eating this. Now, why am I sick? Why am I feeling this way? The things that God told you to eat, you hold him to it. But those of you who eat this pork and stuff, there are a lot of drawbacks. See, one thing about parasites and these crustaceans and these scavenger things that we eat, it's hard to kill the parasites in them, even through cooking. Some of the parasites still live, and some of you have cooked your beef, and beef can also mess with you too. I mean, when you have cooked it, or you don't, you know, pay attention to how you even raise your beef, or your fowl, or your goats. Now, goat is very good meat, and also lamb. I prefer goat more over lamb, but they all good meats. Either way, let us continue. Now, it says the Egyptians, in verse 3, the Egyptians loved Joseph as of heretofore. Only Magron, the son of Pharaoh, sat upon his father's throne, and he became king in those days in his father's stead. In other words, Joseph was tutor to the king's son, or the Pharaoh's son. He was the tutor. Although what he would also ask Magron things. As Magron developed, I'm sure that Magron took control gradually over the land. Now, he became king in those days in his father's stead. And Magron was 41 years old when he began to reign. And 40 years he reigned in Egypt. And all Egypt called his name Pharaoh after his father. And it was their custom to do in Egypt to every king that reigned over them. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh reigned in his father's stead, he placed the laws of Egypt and all the affairs of government in the hands of Joseph. And his father commanded him. As his father commanded him, yes, he did this. In other words, he could lay back, just like your, I guess your England queen or king of England, whatever, don't do nothing, but there's somebody else that controls the land. But either way, they're just a showpiece. No, that's what he was, a showpiece. And Joseph became king over Egypt, and for he superintended over all Egypt. And you realize a lot of kingdoms in the old world, or should I say, on the continent, even here in the U.S., had people that ran the country. Even with the U.S. now, there are other people that ran the country. Usually the ultimate leader is just a showpiece, just one who talks. But you have people in the cabinet that are appointed to do right, and the only thing they seek is approval. That's all they do. They write the laws and all this thing. Oh, do you approve of this? Or you sign it? Yeah, this is what happens. So apparently your ultimate leader is not the ultimate one that makes all the decisions. There's a cabinet he has, or group of people, or a person, just as you see in some of the old movies and stuff, that always influences the one who has the greatest authority in order to get his way, to have him sign some type of decree or law, or some type of ordinance or constitutional amendment or something. Yes, then you might have a Senate and all these other things that agree with it, but it usually comes from another person other than the ultimate leader. He just approves. That's it. Now, and it came to pass, Pharaoh reigned, it says, to every king that reigned over. And in verse 5, it came to pass, when Pharaoh reigned in his father's stead, he placed the laws of Egypt and all the affairs of the government in the hands of Joseph, as his father had commanded him. And Joseph became king over Egypt, and he superintended over all Egypt. Now, see, this is the way government is acting now. Even the United States government is this way. There's a superintendent, not just the president. There's a superintendent, somebody you watch, and he's going to always do things according. See, he's not held liable, but that president is held liable because he signed the order, or he went along with this person and what they said and what they did. And all Egypt was under his care and under his counsel, for all Egypt inclined to Joseph after the death of Pharaoh, and they loved him exceedingly to reign, just as they loved his father and his father before that. I mean, he just had the way of his father. But there were some people amongst them who did not like him, saying, no stranger shall reign over us. Now, the children of Esau wanted a stranger to reign over them. So they picked one of the people from Azania, or whatever you would call Africa at that time, or that land, Yes. And they picked him to reign. They didn't want nobody that was of the children of Esau to reign over them. And these were the children of Esau. And there were some people amongst them who did not like him. Verse 7, and no stranger shall reign over us till the whole government of Egypt devolved in those days upon Joseph. And after the death of Pharaoh, he being the regulator, doing as he liked throughout the land without anyone interfering, and all Egypt was under the care of Joseph. And Joseph made war with all his surrounding enemies, and he subdued them. Not only did Joseph have the cooperation of Egypt, he had the cooperation even of the children of his brethren, who were very seasoned warriors. Yes. Now, and this is how the land prospered. But yet, they were idolaters. And it was working. It had to be working. This is just my hypothesis. Had to be working on the children of Jacob to get them to worship idols. And eventually it happened. But still, let us continue. He said, Joseph made war in verse 8 with all his surrounding enemies, and he subdued them. And all the land and all the Philistines unto the borders of Canaan did Joseph subdue, and they were all under his power, and they gave a yearly tax unto Joseph, just like Solomon. Now, this is an Israelite, or should I say a child of Jacob, ruling what we call the known world at that time. And he had a lot of people, not only all sub-Saharan Africa and all Africa, everybody knew who Egypt was, who was Egypt at that time. They knew. And if it was a far distant voice that echoed, telling that there was a man of Jacob. News traveled as people traveled. They gave a yearly tax unto Joseph. And the king and Pharaoh, king of Egypt, sat upon his throne in his father's stead, but he was under the control and counsel of Joseph, as he was at first under control of his father. Neither did he reign but the land of Egypt only, but under the counsel of Joseph. But Joseph reigned over the whole country at that time, from Egypt unto the great river Perath. Now, where's that at? The great river Perath. Okay, that had to be going west. Now, and Joseph was successful in all his ways, and the I Am was with him, and the I Am gave Joseph additional wisdom and honor, just like Solomon, but there was no man after him, but before him, didn't say, did it? Come on, him. He says now, and glory and love toward him in the hearts of, but one thing about Joseph, he only had one wife. Joseph didn't have many wives at that time. I guess he didn't see the need in having many wives. He had one, according to this narrative, as we read so far. And toward him in the hearts of the Egyptians and throughout the land, Joseph reigned over the whole country 40 years. And all the countries of the Philistines and Canaan and Zidon and all the other side of Jordan brought presents unto Joseph all his days. And the whole country was in the land of Joseph, in the hand of Joseph, should I say, hand of Joseph. And they brought unto him a yearly tribute, as it was regulated, for Joseph had fought against all his surrounding enemies and subdued them. And the whole country was in the hand of Joseph, and Joseph sat securely upon his throne in Egypt. That's just like you would have now. You have, just to put it plainly, you have Russia. They helping subdue the enemies of Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger. And so here they are, they pay them for the services. And maybe they might, well, however they charge, whether the yearly tax or, to give us a yearly sum of uranium and gold or whatever, these things here, they're for their services. Not that they wanted to take them over or anything like that, but it's for their services, to help us deal with these people who want to take what can enrich us and make us a strong and formidable people. Yes, throughout the continent. And also a lot of people are seeing this, that to become a strong and formidable people, you have to have someone that's going to help you subdue your enemies, period. Whether the enemy's already on your land or they're sending horrible tidings to your land. Now, these things do happen. And so it's happening even in this day. It doesn't matter about what color they are, but if they have the right intentions, it's always known and is always discerned. Yes. Now, verse 13, and all his brethren, the sons of Jacob, dwelt securely. And also all his brethren, the sons of Jacob, dwelt securely in the land, and all the days of Joseph. And they were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly in the land. In other words, they start having babies. You know, when you eating and you got food and you got land, you got a house, you got a home. Hey, it's on now with the women, ain't it? Yeah. And they served the I am all their days, and their father Jacob had commanded it, as their father Jacob had commanded them. And it came to pass at the end of many days and years, when the children of Esau were dwelling quietly in their land with Bela their king, that the children of Esau were fruitful and multiplied in the land. And they resolved to go and fight with the sons of Jacob and all Egypt, to deliver their brother Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, and his men, for they were yet in those days slaves. Remember what I said, right? Okay. And the children of Esau sent unto all the children of the east, and they made peace with them. And all the children of the east came unto them to go with the children of Esau to Egypt to battle. So Esau going to be slick now. Okay. Verse 16. And there came also unto them the people of Angias, king of Dinaba, also their king that was from Dinaba, whom they have. They also sent unto the children of Ishmael, and they also came unto them. Now this was the land that you're looking at now, this whole peninsula. This was the land of Ishmael. This was the land of Shem. A lot of it was a part of Israel, and you know, it was just a whole myriad of people. Now, and verse 17, all these people assembled and came unto Seir to assist the children of Esau in their battle. And this camp was very large and heavy with people, numerous as the sand of the sea. About 800,000 men, infantry and cavalry, and all these troops went down to Egypt to fight with the sons of Jacob. And they encamped by Ramses. And Joseph went forth with his brethren, with the mighty men of Egypt, about 600 men, and they fought with them in the land of Ramses. And the sons of Jacob at that time again fought with children of Esau in the 50th year of the sons of Jacob going down to Egypt. That is the 30th year of the reign of Bela over the children of Esau in Seir. And the I am gave all the mighty men of Esau and the children of the east into the hand of Joseph his brethren. Fools! Did you know that the Most High was with their... They didn't know the Most High was with their uncle. Something happened there. They got brain damage, so some spirit done swayed their mind. And his brethren, I'm in verse 19, and the people of the children of Esau and the children of the east were smitten before Joseph. Doesn't take a lot. And the people of Esau and the children of the east that were slain were there fell before the sons of Jacob about 200,000 men. And their king Bela, the son of Beor. Now you have to realize Beor was also another king. Elam, Edom, all of them the same thing. But Beor, back in the time of the judges, should I say, or during the 40-year trek of the children of Israel when they came out of captivity, he was a prophet or some type of necromancer or whatever, but God knew him. God knew who he was, and he was asked by Balaam to curse the children of Israel. Not at this time. This was way before that time, but his name still was. He was a son of Beor. Now and fell with them in battle. And when the children of Esau saw that their king had fallen in battle and was dead, their hands became weak in combat. And Joseph and his brother and all Egypt were still smiting the people of the house of Esau. And all Esau's people were afraid, and the sons of Jacob, and fled from before them. And Joseph and his brother and all the Egypt pursued them a day's journey, and they slew yet from them about 300 men, continuing to smite them in the road, and they afterward turned back from them. And Joseph and all his brethren returned to Egypt. Not one man was missing. Nobody died in battle from Egypt, even unto the children of Jacob. And there fell 12 men. And when Joseph returned to Egypt, he returned Zepho and his men to be additionally bound, a yoke still upon Esau's neck. And they bound them in irons, and they increased their grief. This is the will of the Most High. He said that even through who? Isaac. And all the people of the children of Esau and the children of the east returned in shame. This is what's going to happen to Esau in this last and evil day. They're going to return few in number and in shame, and then utterly be destroyed. And each unto his city, for all the mighty men that were with him had fallen in battle. And when the children of Esau saw that their king had died in battle, they hastened and took a man from the people of the children of the east. That's because they told them, what? We don't want no other man. We don't want one of our own people over us. So they took a man from the people of the children of the east. In other words, it was over past the Euphrates, or somewhere toward the Euphrates River, or past it, which is Babylon. You go to the old ancient maps, just Google it, you'll find it. And his name was Jobab, son of Zarak, from the land of Bozrah. And they caused him to reign over them instead of Bela. And we're going to go with about two more. And Jobab sat upon the throne of Bela, king in his stead, and Jobab reigned in Edom over all the children of Esau 10 years. And the children of Esau went no more to fight with the sons of Jacob. I don't blame them. I wouldn't fight them either, because God is with them, period. From that day forward. I'm in verse 27. Esau knew the valor of the sons of Jacob, and they were greatly afraid of them. But from that day forward, the children of Esau hated the sons of Jacob. Hated. And the enemy were very strong between them and all the days unto this day. Yes. And that was at the time. This day is when the angel was talking to Moses, giving him a historical account, because only an angel could give him that historical account. They had no archaeologists then. They had no storytellers. Apparently Moses told this, and Jasher was one who wrote this part down or something to that effect, and it jives with the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch to a certain degree, and the book of Genesis. So these are the 4 books of beginnings. So let's call a buck a buck. There are 4 books of beginnings. There are 4 books of law. Genesis is not a book of law, but the book of law was, but the law is also mentioned in these 4 books of beginnings. And the reissuance of the law is in the 4 books of Moses. And after the 4 books of Moses is what you call the execution of God's plan for Israel. And because they failed in their execution, what God told them to do, then what happened? You have the book of Judges, where their enemies subdued them and they cried, and God was still with them. And then after that, you got the book of the Kings. You have the prophet Samuel, who began to, he was the one to anoint the king. Still, God is in control regardless. But these kings were not anointed as the patriarch kings in the first books of beginnings. They were not anointed, not as them. They were given more of a secular and a heathenistic kingship. and not a kingship that was controlled and by the Most High. They didn't heap women unto themselves. They didn't take the people. They wanted kings like the heathen did. So God gave them king like the heathen, which was Saul, Samuel, Solomon, and all the other ones out thereafter. And therefore, it came to the point where these kings caused Israel to sin, be split. Now they're scattered because they chose a king, and you're known by the sin of your king, and many follow the king. Look at the U.S. U.S. becomes debt. They over debt, and look at the people. We follow the government. We want to be in debt, and it's just all messed up. And when the government gets what you call it, what they call it, liberal, then the people of the U.S. becomes liberal, the majority, and then those who call themselves conservative still liberal in that sense. So the leaders do influence the masses that are supposed to follow them, and then they enact their laws according to their convictions, and then the masses are subject to those laws, even if the laws are dead wrong. This is what is happening. So we have to really be on our Q's and P's to know that we belong to the government of the Most High. We have the Constitution of the Most High, which is His laws, statutes, ordinances, and commandments. That is the Constitution of the kingdom to come. That is the law of the kingdom to come. I don't care how much you have Muhammad or your Catholic priest or this Christian preacher giving you all other kind of things. This is the law. This is the ordinance, commandments, and statutes of the Most High, and you cannot be changed by no one. No one. And neither can you add to it, because there's nothing you can do. You can only follow it. Because the Sharia law is derived from the commandments, statutes, judgments, and ordinances of the Most High. It's there. And also many laws of many lands are after this. It's a government. The Most High is a government. The government of heaven and also the government on earth. But this government is going to have to swallow up all the other governments and cast out all the abominations. So this is the reason for the judgment to come and the times to come. So that the people might fear, so that we might be to the point where we are willing to do whatever God says without fail. And with that, we're going to say, Shalom, peace, Shabbat Shalom.
Walk with me.